Sophie, what does it mean to you?
Freedom.
Can you be more, is it equality of opportunity? Is it equal pay across the board? Is it something more than that?
I think equality is better for everyone. I think,
okay.
you know, and I'm really delighted, you know, I love my job because it's an optimistic and a hopeful job, which is about creating more choices for people. I'm interested in people being able to have different choices and having equality of outcome.
Aha, well, so you.
What's up, everybody? Today we are covering how feminists don't even know what equality even is. So let's get into it, shall we?
And equality of outcome. What if people choose different things, which is what they've been doing in Scandinavia? So the Scandinavian countries have moved more towards gender equality than any other countries, and the personality differences in Scandinavia have increased rather than decreased, and the proportion of women who are choosing STEM fields has decreased rather than increased. So as cultures become more gender neutral, the number of women who choose STEM fields decreases.
What do you mean by STEM fields?
So science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So if you let men and women make their choices, what actually happens is that they specialize in different situations, and you don't get equality of outcome.
Could they not have been programmed to have those views from the moment we raise them and give boys Lego and construction?
No, because what happens is that as countries get more egalitarian, which means there's less programming of that sort, the differences get larger, not smaller. And the scientific data on that is clear, and most of it was generated by people who have a left-leaning bias, so you can't blame it on conservative scientists. It was a shock to everyone to find that out.
Sophie,
I think the difference between Jordan and me is that we look at evidence and we lean towards different theories. So Jordan's theory is very much evolutionary, you know, that there are inherent differences in men and women. Mine is very much more social role theory, if you like, and that men and women are taking on different roles due to the expectations that society puts on them. And
okay, here's something I got interjected with this feminist saying that men and women are taking on different roles due to the expectations that society has put on them. What are you talking about, madam? Like, what are you talking about? Like, who in the West is telling women to stay at home and be homemakers? Who in the West is promoting women to essentially be traditional wives? Who? Last time I checked, the feminist movement has pretty much dominated the West, where they keep telling women that submitting to your husband is oppression, traditional wifehood is outdated, yada yada yada, fighting the patriarchy. Who is teaching women right now in the West to take on traditional roles the way you are claiming? Who?
that Jordan frequently cites Scandinavian countries where they've made more, like there's nowhere in the world that women are equal, but Scandinavia has made the most progress towards shared parenting, etc.
Yep.
That said, it's not done yet. There's nowhere in the world where this is done yet.
But it's having the opposite effect that the gender equality types predicted. Opposite, not the same. And it isn't a theory, it's actually data driven by tens of thousands of surveys and the best scientific literature on the topic. It's not a theory, and I didn't come about it because of my political perspective. I looked at the data. What it showed was that as countries become more egalitarian, the differences between men and women grow. They don't shrink.
So what I'm interested in is data and analysis as well, and I'm particularly interested in the ones presented, such as the ones by the University of Southern California, which discovered that change towards gender equality is actually being slowed by beliefs that are legitimizing social inequalities on the basis of sex. And I'm also interested, I mean, like Jordan, I look at the data and I look at the studies, and I'm really also very much interested in studies like the analysis that was done by the American Psychological Society, which looked at 45 analysis of whether there's sex difference over 20 years. And its conclusion was that men and women are basically alike in terms of personality, in terms of cognitive ability, in terms of leadership. But what it did find was that media depictions of men and women as fundamentally different perpetuate misconceptions, as does workplace bias.
Oh God, so it's my fault.
So,
okay, madam, I'm going to have to completely interject on this as well. For example, you say that, like, hey, men and women are exactly the same in leadership positions. No, we are not. Neurological brain differences between men and women. Women are neurologically built to be a lot more emotional than men are. Women go through neurological chemical imbalances that men do not go through. That is not socialism, that is not patriarchy, that's just neurological science. Biologically, yeah, men and women can be similar, but those very small differences, if women choose to ignore them, can create catastrophic side effects long term that can many times hospitalize women. For example, when it comes to professional female athletes, they try to exercise the exact same way a man does. But when they put ideology ahead of biology, they overlook those little bitty differences, biological differences between men and women. They do not calculate that into the workout, like how men have greater bone density. Men can generate testosterone to help us develop muscle development. When they completely overlook that and they do not calculate that into their workout routine as female professional athletes, the results end up disastrous. There are many women who have been pretty much paralyzed from the neck down by rejecting the little bitty biological differences between men and women. Also, when you say, like, you want equality, madam, here's a question I have to ask. What is stopping you in the West from doing whatever it is that you want that is not 100% biologically related? What law, madam, here in the West, currently, not back in the colonial time periods, but currently, is stopping women from doing whatever it is they want that, once again, is not 100% biologically related? If you cannot come up with a straight answer for that question, you're not oppressed, madam. You're not.
You know, you're leaving soon. It's
Men and women actually are more the same than they are different. But the issue is that small differences at the population level can turn into very large differences at the extreme. So, for example, men and women are broadly similar with regards to aggression, although men tilt a little bit more towards aggression. So that if you picked a random person out of the population, male and female, and you guessed that the male was more aggressive, you'd be right 60% of the time. But if you take the 1 in 100 most aggressive people, they're all male. And that's why the overwhelming proportion of people who are in prisons are male. Now, do you want to equalize that, just out of curiosity? What about bricklayers? They're 99% male. And we've got about 3/4 of the population now in universities in the humanities and social sciences are female.
Yeah.
Are we going to equalize that? And men work longer hours. They work more dangerous jobs. They're more likely to move. They're more likely to work outside. They're more likely to participate in jobs in the STEM fields that are scalable. They make more money for those reasons. And that's all hidden under the idea that the reason that men and women make different amounts of money is because of their gender. It's a very simplistic analysis, and trying to address
I was just going to say, Sophie, can you come back on that?
What I'm trying to equalise is opportunity and choice.
Fine, let's equalise
You
choice.
agree on that.
But we won't get equal outcome that way.
And I think that what happens then, nobody knows, because we've never done it yet.
We do know. We know what's happened in Scandinavia.
But it's not fully got there yet.
No, but it's going in the opposite direction that everyone predicted, and strongly.
You know, I think one of the things I loved about Jordan's book, which I speed read last night, so forgive me, Jordan, I've not read every line. But one of my favourite rules in Jordan's book is Rule 9, which says, assume the person you are listening to might know something you don't.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that in a country where men outnumber women by 2 to 1 in Parliament, in local government, where women's voices are not equally represented in media, where our education systems still are teaching boys and girls ideas of pink and blue. Yeah. What I'm trying to...
Okay, what education system are you talking about, madam? Have you been to any local schools lately? If you have, you'll notice that the majority of teachers are in fact women. They are. The education field is pretty much a female-dominated industry here within the West. As for not being equally represented in positions of government, that's not a democracy, madam. It's not. You get a position in government as an elected official if you have the majority votes of the people. That is the only time when it is appropriate for you to have an elected position in government. Under no circumstances should you be put in a position of government or a position of power just because of what you have in your pants. So essentially, this feminist just made it perfectly clear she wants to essentially disrespect the will of the voters. She did. She openly confessed that on national television. She openly confessed to precisely that. Like I said, feminists do not know what equality even is. They don't.
Thousands of optimistic, hopeful people for change.
Okay. You kept very quiet through this, Michael. I'm going to make you put you under a bit of pressure. Do forgive me. I'm going to come to the calls in a moment. Your boss called the gender pay gap a burning injustice. Is it?
Yes, it is, because there should be inequality of opportunity. There needs to be the same rights. But you know, something that surprised me, that neither of you, and the quality of outcome, sure, all of that. But the one thing both of you haven't mentioned is the biological difference, which unfortunately affects women's career prospects, whether we like it or not. Babies. And that does cause a problem. You know, if I were to take a sabbatical from a corporation for a while, it's going to set me back slightly. And it is a problem that biologically it's women who have babies, not men.
Sure, but that's why we are the Women's Equality Party is the only party in the UK that's got policies around shared parental leave.
She's so political.
We're the only party that has got fully costed plans for universal free childcare. What we're saying is that
you're trying to change the
we're trying to change the outcomes, and also men are joining our party. Men who are really tired. I'm sure I'm going to have a word with Michael because I am sure he'll want the application.
Okay, forgive me.
We take joint membership.
I want to take one call if you'll forgive me because time is really short, and I owe it to the viewers to hear their views on this.
We've got Salim calling from Manchester.
Salim, good morning.
Hi Matthew, how you doing?
I'm very well. I'm loving it. I'm pig in heaven today. What do we think about equality? Will it ever happen, Salim?
I was going to say I thought it was going to happen, but after listening to Jordan, he's swayed my opinion.
Why did you think it was going to happen?
Because I think we're going to...
Okay, before I close this out, everybody, I just want to say, when it comes to the whole gender pay gap thing, that's a myth. It is. The reason why is because, hey, what that whole feminist thing is complaining about gender pay gap, most countries have already outlawed that. And to this exact day, since the feminist movement has been promoting that, quite literally nobody has been arrested. Nobody has. So, yeah. Pretty sure this whole gender pay gap is a myth. It really is. And yeah, do I admit that, like, hey, there's biological differences that can cause women to be paid less, like getting pregnant and being needed to do paternity leave? Yeah, of course so, but insurance covers that. At least it does here in the West. I don't know how it is in other countries. But yeah, I don't think an employer will want to promote you or hire you if you're doing less work. Well, you have a kid, okay, yeah, sure, that's legitimate, but I don't think that's on the employer's position to, overlook that when it comes to giving a promotion and pay raise. I don't think it is.